guys, it's Amanda, and this is Editing Amanda at the moment because I have no clue where the beginning of this video went. The footage literally just disappeared. So in today's video, I'm going to be telling you all the books that I have read so far in 2021, plus I am doing the mid-year freak-out tag at the end. So you're going to see that in the beginning, I'm halfway done talking about The Universe Has Your Back by Gabrielle Bernstein. So let's get right back into the video, and the normal filming process will begin now. Her story in this book and how she got through her addictions and her depression and all that horrible stuff. And she really gets into how the universe did help her through this and how the universe has her back. Next up, I have The Devil in the Dark Water. Now, this one I did not finish because I completely hated it. Let's read the back, shall we? It's 1634 and Samuel Pepys, the world's greatest detective, is being transported to Amsterdam to be executed for a crime he may or may not have committed. Traveling with his loyal bodyguard, Errant Hayes, who is determined to prove his friend innocent. Among the other guests is Sarah Wessel, a noble woman with a secret. But no sooner is their ship out to sea than devilry begins to blight their voyage. A strange symbol appears on the sail. A dead leper stalks the decks. Livestock dies in the night, and the passengers hear a terrible voice whispering to them in the darkness, promising 3 unholy miracles, followed by a slaughter. First, an impossible pursuit. Second, an impossible theft. And third, an impossible murder. Could a demon be responsible for their misfortunes? With Pepys imprisoned, only Errant and Sarah can solve a mystery that stretched back into their past and now threatens to sink the ship, killing everybody on board. Now, I saw this book in the bookstore, and I immediately gravitated towards it because it had a compass on it, and it seemed like a piratey, devilly, scary thing. It was kind of that, but it also really wasn't. I read about 50 pages of this. This was not good at all. I kept reading, I'm like, okay, this is gonna get better. Yeah, it's gonna get better. Oh my god, it's getting better. It does not get better. Now, I can't say that because I have not read it completely. This book was not my favorite. It was slow. It was too much. It was slow. It was hard to understand. No. Next up, I have Pillow Thoughts by Courtney Peppernell. Now, as I throw the book at you, I'm so sorry. I have read this book before. I read this in 2019, so I wanted to reread it again, so that is what I did. Now, I love poetry. I love Courtney's writing in this, and it's just, this book has all different types of beautiful poetry. They have different sections of the book of what type of poetry is in it and what type of poems are in it for whatever you need at that time. So if you are dreaming of someone, if you are in love, if you are heartbroken, if you are lonely, if you are sad, if you are missing someone, if you need encouragement, if you're soul searching, if you need a reason to stay, these are for you. There was a lot of these. As you can tell, I really, this is horrible, but I dog-eared a lot of the poems in here that I absolutely loved. There was a couple that I actually cried at because they hit so hard for me, and these, I haven't read any of the other Pillow Thoughts books yet, but I really want to. Yes, if you're looking for a wonderful, good poetry book that can make you cry, that can make you laugh, that just is really good for you, definitely check out Pillow Thoughts. Next up, we have It by Stephen King. My dear Pennywise is on here. I love Pennywise. He's my favorite. If you're wondering, did I really read all of this? No. I know, a lot of 2021 has been books that I have not read all the way through, and I really can't say I've read them, but I'm still including them in this video because I don't care. I read about 50 pages of it, and I know the whole story of it. I love it, so I just really wanted the book to have because I love it. It is about a killer clown, and I love it. It's about a freaking killer clown, and it's amazing! And of course, my dear, Finn Wolfhard is in the remake, 2018 or 2017 remake, so I love it so much. So that's why I really wanted to read it, but I didn't read it all the way through. I will probably read this all the way through one day, but that day has not come yet. 5 stars. Next up, we have From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. Now, this book, this was one of the books that I was most excited for 2021, and I was deeply disappointed. This book is really popular right now, and it's been all of 2021. Let me just read this to you first. A maiden, chosen from birth to usher in a new era. Poppy's life has never been her own. The life of the maiden is solitary. Never to be touched, never to be looked upon, never to be spoken to, never to experience pleasure. Waiting for the day of her accession, she would rather be with the guards fighting back the evil that took her family than preparing to be found worthy by the gods. But the choice has never been her own. A duty. The entire kingdom's future rests on Poppy's shoulders. Something she's not even quite sure she wants for herself, because a maiden has a heart and a soul and a longing. And when Hawk, a golden-eyed honor to bound to ensure her accession, enters her life, destiny and duty becomes tangled with desire and need. He incites her anger, makes her question everything she believes in, and tempts her with the forbidden. A kingdom. Forsaken by the gods and feared by mortals, a fallen kingdom is rising once more, determined to take back what they believe is theirs through violence and vengeance. And as the shadow of those cursed draws closer, the line between what is forbidden and what is right becomes blurred. Poppy is not only on the verge of losing her heart and being found unworthy by the gods, but also her life, when every blood-soaked thread that holds her world together begins to unravel. I was really excited for this book. I'm still heartbroken from it. Because this book! I've not read the other books in this series. There's gonna be like 8 books in this series, I've heard. It was good. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. The first 100 pages of it was amazing. It was great. The storytelling was good. The imagery was really good. The romance, if you know, you know. But the ending killed me. The ending completely killed me, gutted me, and threw me in the streets. Okay, yeah. So I did not like this book. It was good, it was enjoyable-ish, and then the ending happened, and then I threw it on the floor. Because of the ending, and because I don't want to continue the series. I might reread this in 10 years and read the series then, and I might enjoy it. But right now, no. And I do understand the hype, but I also really don't. It's about freaking vampires and werewolves, and you know, if you know me, freaking Twilight, I'm in love with vampires and werewolves, but this wasn't completely that, but it was, but it wasn't, but I didn't like this, so. Camera died! Yes! Before the commercial break, I was talking about From Blood and Ash, and I did not like it, so you didn't miss much. Next up, we have Fable and Namesake. First off, can we just adore this? As she falls. The cover art of these books is amazing. Was that why I picked it up? Yes. Also, pirate romance. These books were amazing. I'm going to read the thingy of the first one, not the second one, because yeah. Welcome to a world made dangerous by the sea and by those who wish to profit from it, where a girl must find her place in her family while trying to survive in a world built for men. For 17-year-old Fable, the daughter of the most powerful trader in the Narrows, the sea is the only home she's ever known. It's been 4 years since the night she watched her mother drown during an unforgiving storm. The next day, her father abandoned her on a legendary island filled with thieves and little food. To survive, she must keep to herself, learn to trust no one, and rely on the unique skills her mother taught her. The only thing that keeps her going is the goal of getting off the island, finding her father and demanding her rightful place beside him and his crew. To do so, Fable enlists the help of a young trader named West to get her off the island and across the Narrows to her father. But her father's rivalries and the dangers of his trading enterprise have only multiplied since she last saw him, and Fable soon finds that West isn't who he seems. Together, they will have to survive more than the treacherous storms that haunt the Narrows if they're going to stay alive. This book was amazing. This book was even more amazing. So, for Fable, I gave Fable a 3 out of 5 stars. Now, that's decent, but it's not good. It started right off the bat, and I loved it that way. But I would think, I say this first book was more the introduction, like what's going on, everything. But the more like good action that happened was in definitely Namesake. So that was the only problem I had with the first one, but after I got through the first one and started the second one, second one I gave a 4 out of 5 stars because this was just really enjoyable. It wasn't the best thing I've ever read. It was very enjoyable and a freaking pirate romance, so it was good. Amazing. And we're halfway through the piles, so let's do this. Next up, we have The Rose That Blooms in the Night. This book is another poetry book, and it's very much like Pillow Thoughts, but very much not. Have you heard the story of the rose that blooms in the night? Without the sun's presence, she grew from her own light. She did not yearn for his warmth on her petals, for she knew she held the power to radiate light from within. Though she had strong thorns, her heart was always open, for those with an open heart can never be broken. This poetry book was amazing. And yes, I dog-eared the favorite poems in here again. Yes, I know. This was really good. I can't even explain how good this was. Like, there's beautiful illustrations in this. I've never seen illustrations in a poetry book before. It's just, everything in this book was so beautiful. The poems are sad, they're happy, they're really empowering, and this book is very much self-love and self-care and grief, loss, but it was very good. I cried at this. It was very good. Next up, we have Super Attractor by Gabrielle Bernstein. This is another one of Gabrielle Bernstein's books, and I want to read all of her books, but this was the one that I read a couple months ago, and this was so good. It's even better than The Universe Has Your Back. This one tells more about her story, gives you more techniques for manifesting and connecting with the universe. Just so good. Very amazing. I give this 5 out of 5 stars. And next up, the one I've been waiting for this entire video, A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I was honestly very scared to start this series because I know that this series is loved by a lot, but also hated by a lot. So I was scared to start it just because I really wanted something that I would love and something that I'm going to adore, but I'm like, oh, but a lot of people hate it. I really hope I'm not one of them. And guess what? I am not one of them. And if you are one of them, get out. Let's just read the back, shall we? When 19-year-old huntress Feyre kills a wolf in the woods, a terrifying creature arrives to demand vengeance. Dragged to a treacherous magical land she knows only from legends, Feyre discovers that her captor is not truly a beast, but one of the lethal immortal fairies who once ruled her world. At least he is not a beast all the time. As she adapts to her new home, her feelings for the fairy, Tamlin, transform from icy hostility into a fiery passion that burns through every lie she has been told about the beautiful, dangerous world of the Fae. But something is not right in the fairy lands. An ancient, wicked shadow is growing, and Feyre must find a way to stop it or doom Tamlin and his world forever. I was drawn to this book because I was told that it was a Beauty and the Beast retelling. It kind of is, but it kind of is not. Oh my god! This entire series blew me away. This is the best series I've ever read. It's amazing. Romance, fairies, really hot people. Read this book. Next up, what I read in 2021 is Lord of the Flies. Now, I don't have this physical copy with me. I had to read it for school, and they don't let you keep the book, so Lord of the Flies is a classic. So I will read you the synopsis of this book. At the dawn of the next world war, a plane crashes on an uncharted island, stranding a group of schoolboys. At first, with no adult supervision, their freedom is something to celebrate. This far from civilization, the boys can do anything they want. Anything. They attempt to forge their own society, failing, however, in the face of terror, sin, and evil. And as order collapses, as strange howls echo in the night, as terror begins its reign, the hope of adventure seems as far from the reality as the hope of being rescued. Labeled an allegory, a myth, even a vision of the apocalypse, Lord of the Flies is perhaps one of the most memorable novel about the end of innocence, the darkness of man's heart. This book I gave a 2 out of 5 stars. I did love the whole story. I love the characters. Again, having this be such a book that was published such a long time ago, it was very slow. Some of it was hard to understand, but after reviewing it and writing about it with my class, I did understand it, obviously, and it was fun to work with. It was really fun to work with, but definitely not one of my first picks for reading, but I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. But it's definitely a classic. Everyone should read it. I think it's one of those required reads everyone should read. So yeah. Next up, I read A Court of Mist and Fury, and I'm not going to talk about that because there's a lot of spoilers. Then Another book I read for school was I Am Malala, which is the story of Malala, which you all probably know who is. I Am Malala, How One Girl Stood Up for Education and Changed the World. This book, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I love the story. It was fun to read it with my class and get to know more about Malala. It was very good. Very, very good. Then another book I had to read for my class was Flowers for Algernon. This book I will read the synopsis of. The story of a mentally disabled man whose experimental quest for intelligence mirrors that of Algernon, an extraordinary lab mouse. In the diary entries, Charlie tells how a brain operation increases his IQ and changes his life. As the experimental procedure takes effect, Charlie's intelligence expands until it surpasses that of the doctors who had engineered his metamorphosis. The experiment seems to be a scientific breakthrough of paramount importance until Algernon begins his sudden, unexpected deterioration. Will the same happen to Charlie? This book was fun to read. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. I liked the whole story. I've never heard of this type of thing being done before. It was entertaining, but again, not something I would normally pick up, but it was good altogether. Then finally, I read A Court of Wings and Ruin. And then after that, I read A Court of Frost and Starlight. And that is the end of every single book I've read so far. And what I'm reading now that I'm nowhere near being done with is The Library of the Dead. This book is so good so far. I love it. I was literally just called to it by the cover and the title, obviously. Okay, now, after I'm done jabbing my frickin' jaws, I'm going to start with the questions for this tag. So, number 1, the best book so far. Best book I read so far is definitely A Court of Wings and Ruin. That killed me, and I think that was the most entertaining out of all of the A Court of Thorns and Roses books. Number 2, best sequel, Namesake, definitely. 3, new release you're excited for. The new release I'm excited for is definitely Stolen Midsummer Bride, of the Stolen Brides the Fae series, I think it's called. Everything about that book seems everything that I would love. There's libraries, there's fairies, there's romance. That is the one I'm definitely excited for. 4, most anticipated release. Which new anticipated release? This one that literally just came out like 3 days ago. I don't know if it's in stores yet, but if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But Cold Hearted by Serena Valentino of the Villain series. I loved the Villain series, and I haven't read Evil Thing yet. I'm a little behind on it, but I absolutely loved that series, and I love Disney so much, so it's really fun to read about all the villains' backstories and all that. Number 5, biggest disappointment from Blood and Ash. That was my biggest disappointment of this year. Number 6, your biggest surprise. The surprise was definitely A Court of Thorns and Roses. I didn't think I was gonna love it as much as I did. Number 7, new author. New author I've read this year. Definitely Gabby Bernstein. I just learned of her last year, so when I knew that she wrote books, I was like so excited. So I definitely love her writing style and everything. Number 8, your newest crush. Rysand, Court of Thorns and Roses. Number 9, your newest favorite character is definitely, again, Feyre from A Court of Thorns and Roses. Number 10, book that made you cry. A Court of Wings and Ruin. I'm going to be talking about this a lot in this video. Number 11, book that made you happy. Definitely Little Women. That made me really happy and just made me feel really cozy, and I love Little Women, so definitely Little Women. Number 12, most beautiful cover is definitely The Library of the Dead. The cover of this is so pretty and just scary and gothy, and I love it. 13, book that you need to read by the end of the year. I definitely want to try and read Dracul. I'll put a picture right here. This book is a take on Dracula, and one of the authors is Bram Stoker's son. So it's like Dracula and Bram Stoker's life. It's weird, it's hard to explain. Dracul, I definitely want to read that. It seems amazing. I want to read it right now. That might actually be my next book that I read. 14, favorite book / movie adaptation you've watched / read this year. The books I've read haven't, oh wait, no. Back up. Lord of the Flies. I read that and then watched the movie. Okay, I am so sorry for the length of this video, but hey, we're talking about books. It's a lot to talk about. So that is the end of today's video. If you read any of the books that I mentioned, please comment that down below and start a conversation with people who have also read that book, because we got a lot of good books here that we talked about, especially A Court of Thorns and Roses. I want to do this again. at the end of the year. So if you enjoyed today's video, please hit the like button and hit subscribe if you have not already, and click the notification bell so you'll be notified every single time that I upload. And as always, remember to be the Captain Jack Sparrow of your story, and may your compass lead you to amazing things. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.